Okay, Paul. Hope you can get some from all that. Um, have fun.
We gotta shout out Melodic Noise.
Melodic noise.
Melodic Noise Media.
Melodic Noise Media.
Melodic Noise Media.
Melodic Noise Media.
Melodic Noise.
Melodic Noise Media.
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 Melodic Noise.
Melodic Noise.
Shout out Melodic Noise Media!
Hi, I'm Andy Ellis, and welcome to the Melodic Noise Insider Podcast. This is the start of a regular dive into the Minnesota music scene. Now, what does that mean? Yes, we're going to talk with the artists, but we're also going to talk with producers, promoters, venue owners, publicists, and more. We also want to peel back the curtains of the scene and let you know what it takes to be part of an ever-changing industry. That also includes providing a platform to those who have had a hard time being heard in the past. I will be your regular host, but you'll be hearing other voices too. We've got a lovely team of contributors. I'll be talking with them about their experiences and sharing their interviews as well. Our goal is to publish an episode every 2 weeks and keep them under an hour. We're excited about this new journey and we look forward to you joining us. We cannot wait to get started. Today, I get to share a chat I had with Ben Noble about his new album, Bitter Work. We talked about how it ended up being largely about his complicated relationship with his evangelical upbringing, how his music has evolved, and more. Here is the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Melodic Noise Podcast. Mr. Ben Noble, how's it going, Ben?
Good.
Yeah?
Really good, man.
I last saw you at your release show for Bitter Work. How'd that go for you? I mean, how'd that feel, especially as I'm familiar a little bit with like the amount of work that goes into it, but like once you get on stage, are you kind of able to let like all that go and just play, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely a ton of work that goes into it over months and months. And yeah, I mean, the release show is kind of just like the figurehead on top of like the whole rest of the body of, oh, I'm putting this record into the world and I need to promote it. And yeah, it's kind of just like the pinpoint. And so then, yeah, it is kind of trippy when it gets there and it's finally there and like your name's on all the posters and like everybody's there to see you. And like, yeah, it can be a little overwhelming, but like at this point I've performed so many times. I've played so many shows that like I do kind of have just with the experience, I feel confident that like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. And then, yeah, you just kind of get up there and the muscle memory kind of kicks in. And yeah, I mean, another thing I do is I have filmed a handful of my shows just to kind of like be like, what do I actually look like on stage? And yeah, I mean, like, yeah, as a result of that, it gives me some feedback, so I can continue to grow as a performer and become a little bit smoother on stage, just be able to see what the rough edges are of any performance. But yeah, I don't know. All in all, it was a really fun night. Lots of really fun people that I really care about were there. And yeah, it was just good to celebrate this record coming out.
So like, and you just said about how like you actually film your performances for as more of a way to kind of like have like film in a sense to kind of look back at what you've done. Are you one of those where like you'll sit down and watch and take notes and say like, hey, let's do this again, or not do this, or is that just kind of a like a mental note type thing for next time?
It's generally just more of a mental note type thing. Because I mean, even like no matter. Okay, so if you're filming yourself, like, it is not the same thing as being there, I mean, watching a film of, like film, like, not dynamic film with multiple shots and all, like, if it's just, like, a stagnant camera shot of any show, it's not going to feel like you're actually there. So it can be, like, a little bit more harsh. And so, like, I don't know, I just found it helpful because then I can just kind of see, okay, when I say or do this, that's what it looks like from like a fixed perspective. And maybe that's cool. Maybe that works. Maybe that's not cool. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, things do translate, things don't translate, but all in all, like, yeah, I just want to continue to grow in my ability to communicate what's in my head onto the like a stage. So
And so, your music as you've evolved, especially the stuff because I've seen you perform at the Parkway with Jesse Norrell for his release show, and then this one here at the Ice House, and like I thought they did. I thought both venues provide a really kind of good stage for your kind of sound too, because it can be because it's electronic and so it can have this very kind of epic feel when you're looking at venues to kind of I would say properly showcase this next kind of piece of your work in a sense. Like I mean, what is it that you think about it? Is it okay? How is this going to sound in this venue, or what do you kind of take into account?
honestly, I'll play pretty much any gig I can get my hands on.
Yeah, yeah.
And at this point in my like career, I have a big enough catalog to where I can really just think about, okay, what's the venue, and I can cater my set towards it. So if it's like a sit down type situation, like I can play different things there than like I mean I played Seventh Street Entry a few months ago, and that's like just like a all right, we're gonna play rock and roll. Like we're gonna, everybody's standing. It's like you just need to pull out all the bangers. But then even I played the Turf Club like a month and a half ago, and I was opening up for a folk duo, just two guys on acoustic guitars. And so for that one, I literally just brought my acoustic guitar and I played a lot more of my older stuff. Um, and yeah, I don't know, it's cool. At this point, I have enough material in a handful of different veins, um, different style, not even like different styles, but just different energy levels that I can craft a set to fit pretty much any type of venue.
And so I am curious because your sound has definitely, like I said, evolved so much into, this more it's bright, kind of electronic, almost kind of like Radiohead type stuff. And so I'm curious, going back in time because I can say that now. But like, how would you get started with music? I mean, like, what was like the spark for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing music my whole life. My mom was a piano teacher, so she taught me a little bit when I was young, and then I kind of played saxophone in elementary school and middle school, and then 8th grade I picked up guitar and drums, and then I started writing and recording in high school, and then got to college, and I wanted to do guitar and drums, and I tried to take some drum lessons from this guy, and he said, "I'm not going to teach you unless drums is your only thing." And so that at that point, I was like, "All right, I got to specialize a little bit." So I stopped playing drums, focused all my efforts on guitar, and then yeah, I just kind of continued to work, get put all my hours in, like the woodshed, as they say, and then started working a job out of college. And 2 years into it, I was like, this sucks. I hate it. And then I quit my job to focus all of my efforts on like producing and mixing and starting my artist thing. I had been writing music for years before that, but I'd never gotten serious about it. I'd never like worked to actually like turn it into something tangible. And so yeah, about 8 years ago is when I quit my job. And then yeah, I mean from there it's just been I just had to or I've just intentionally tried to maintain a posture of learning and just always learning, always ingesting things. Um, and yeah, like starting off my first record, Whiskey Priest, came out in 2017, and that one is just like acoustic guitar and vocals because that was what I felt confident in making at that point. But then, yeah, ever since I've just been learning stuff, watching tutorials, messing with stuff, buying gear, all of that, and like I've worked up a studio business of my own to where like I produce other artists and do a lot of mixing and stuff. So that definitely helps. But then yeah, like it's really set me up to be able to make whatever kind of music I want to make. And I don't know, I'm excited about it. I feel like I can go anywhere um, with future records.
Hmm. So I mean, like when who were like your main influences musically when it came to when you started kind of creating your own stuff?
Definitely, I mean, the biggest were Bon Iver and Radiohead and Sufjan Stevens. And then probably in the last 5 years, um, this Icelandic guy, Ausgeir, Asgeir, huge, huge fan of that stuff. But I mean, I've also gotten into like even stuff like more instrumental stuff like John Hopkins and like Max Cooper and um, yeah, just expanding the palette a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I've been one of my main blind spots is jazz, and just like I started because I've always like had a hard time because it's so performance based, but like lately I've been like actually beginning to like, oh, I can actually appreciate this now. And then that's been nice too. Um, so like when I kind of want to actually this album Bitter Work, which before we start recording, recording, I told you, I'm still processing it, and I think it's a good thing because I like albums where it's just like almost every time you listen to it, you get something new from it in a sense. Cause and so like, could you kind of talk about how this started taking shape for you, or and when?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a COVID record. Um, it kind of came into basically my timeline. Like I put I put my second record out on March 6th, 2020, and I did my album release show like a week before that or so. And it was like, oh, yay, cool, we did it, we did the thing. And then the world shut down, and it's just like, all right, that album just got totally overshadowed by everything with COVID and major bummer. I kind of from that point shifted into music production, like survival mode. So I started a handful of side projects. I made a ton of music for like licensing and sync stuff. I made a ton of music with other artists to try to keep my boat afloat. And after about a year of that, I remember actually going back and watching my release show and just watching it and being like, just really, yeah, really longing for that time period, like obviously before COVID had started, but also just yeah, where music felt real, and it was like my music is in the world. I'm an artist, and like I exist, just because like with the internet, there's so many internet musicians who have no presence in the actual world, and I'm guilty of that too. And I mean, COVID really has created that. Um, but yeah, so around that time, I was like, all right, I feel ready to start working on another record. And then, yeah, I just started devoting, maybe like the first hour and a half of my day to writing or coming up with random soundscapes or like just making a random beat that who knows what it'll turn into, and just collecting sounds, collecting stories, all that. And I mean, it was surprising how quickly it all came together. Like it felt slow at the time. Um, but yeah, I would say I probably made the whole record in like 8 to 9 months. Um, and yeah, I finished it up like over a year ago. I wanted to like finish it and then just not listen to it for 4 months. And so that's what I did. I finished it last May 2022, and then came back to it like 4 months later. And I was like, is this still cool? And I listened back and I'm like, all right, we're good. So then I tried shopping it around a little bit to like labels or different release ideas. And I mean, there's just so much noise in the world now. Like
Yeah.
nobody really cared, which is it is what it is, you know. And so then I was like, all right, I'm gonna just put this out myself. And so then it was like, all right, I gotta make some music videos. I gotta like I just gotta figure out how I want to put this out, you know. And then eventually, okay, got my releases planned out. Let's plan out when the release show is gonna happen. And yeah, also like yeah, I made vinyl for it, and I was like, I'm gonna give myself at least a year window for the vinyl to get made, just because that just takes a long time. It ended up coming in like 2 months, so I didn't need to wait that long. But yeah, so yeah, honestly, this was the first this was the first record that I kind of made in the gaps of my schedule. Like my first two records, it was kind of like this is my whole creative thing, and all of my creative energy went into it. And then with this one, I just had so many other irons in the fire that it did kind of happen in the gaps. But I'm super encouraged because it's like honestly, I feel like this is my best work and the one that I'm most proud of. And I was able to do it while juggling other stuff. And I don't know, that just makes me excited about the future. Like I don't need to devote all of me to something um, because of everything that I've learned at this point. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and I did. I was one of the buyers of that vinyl and a shirt, by the way.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm very excited to actually listen to it when I get a chance on there. But like, because also like with this album is that like you do address certain, I guess you call them hot topics, maybe, you know. And I guess one thing I'm curious about is because you in a sense made it this record in a really kind of like dedicated focus amount of time periods of when you had free time in a sense. Um, did you know going into it that like this is what you're going to address, or that is kind of like that's just kind of like what happened to be on your mind in a sense?
I definitely did not set out to make this record. Like, um, and with all my records, like I don't know what it's really going to be until I'm halfway through it, you know? Um, and so, yeah, like it's sort of like just start making stuff and like who knows if it's going to be related at all? Who knows if it's going to even turn into a record at all? And then, yeah, and it like, yeah, this has happened each time. Like, once I have about 5 or 6 songs that are more or less done, I'm able to see, okay, what's the string that's tying these all together? And there's always a moment where something clicks and it's like, that's what it is. And then from there it feels like it's all like biking downhill from there. Like finishing up the rest of this stuff, everything just kind of locks into place and it's like, okay, it's about this. And then like I can comb through all the different sketches and ideas and stuff that I thought wouldn't make sense or anything. And it's like, yeah, once I have the focus, once I have the theme of the album, then it everything just kind of lines up. Um, yeah.
And so like because one of the first songs that really kind of caught my eye as I was listening to it was actually Gomorrah. And so like and to me the way I listen to it in the more is I was kind of like trying to listen to it and see it kind of how it kind of all ties together. It's just like it kind of feels to me like it was like this moment of realization followed by like a kind of like breakdown of a sense. Would that be
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah,
Can I talk about that song and like how that came about and what you're trying to talk about there?
absolutely. Um, yeah, that song. I bought a really nice piano a couple years back, and like I've always played piano and loved it. And um, yeah, I was And I mean, one major way to start writing something when you don't have any ideas is to take somebody else's song and play it for a while, and then change a couple things, and then all of a sudden it's not their song anymore; it's your song. So I was doing that with the Phoebe Bridgers song. I can't remember. I can't remember what it was, but like I was playing that piano part that she had, and I just changed a handful of stuff, and then all of a sudden, oh, this sounds like it's like some like super eerie cinematic, even like it kind of takes me to like the song "Daydreaming" by Radiohead. That's kind of where it ended up. Um, and so yeah, then I just had this piano part that I would just sit down and play every so often, and just like I don't know how I'm gonna write anything for it. But then yeah, I guess thematically things started to click. So it's called Gamora. It's about the character from Guardians of the Galaxy, Gamora, and um, yeah, her dad is Thanos, like the ultimate villain, and just like yeah, she was adopted by Thanos, and the reason why she was adopted was because he murdered her family, so that's pretty intense. And yeah, so this song is about Gamora and Thanos, and how Thanos is on this journey, like he sees it as his life's work to eradicate 50% of the universe population, but he does it because he feels like he's doing a good thing because his home was destroyed by overpopulation. And so then yeah, like you see in the movies, I mean I haven't read the comic books, but like see in the movies like Gamora is all on board. She's like, "Yep, Thanos, let's do this. I see it." And then the everything starts to crumble and she starts to see what it really is. And yeah, she sees her father as a tyrant. And so um I see parallels of that with um, my upbringing. I was raised in evangelical Christianity, and yeah, just with this idea of God as somebody who like is gonna send people to heaven and send people to hell, and like that, regardless of all of that, like God loves us, and even though God loves us, like God is totally cool with sending people to hell, and I don't know. I have it's taken a lot of and I mean that's kind of what this whole record's about anyways. Just digging around, poking around at those foundational, you know, truths that I was raised in, and I just I'm a father now, or I mean I've been a father. My daughter's 8. So I just think about okay, if like God is this person that is going to like send his kids to hell essentially. I just can't get behind that. And yeah, it just reminded me of Thanos. And I'm like, okay, Thanos is so freaking scary and like ultimately he's only trying to kill 50% of the people. He's trying to make life better for the other 50%, you know. And he justifies it by saying like it's going to be indiscriminate. I'm just going to, you know, like I think that's fair. You know, he says it's perfectly balanced. Um, anyways, I see a lot of parallels, and so then I guess I kind of see myself as Gamora, and just like, oh man, so much of what I was raised in, I can't get behind that anymore, you know. And yeah, so those threads go throughout pretty much the whole record.
Yeah, and that actually, I did not see that MCU reference coming. I'll be honest. I thought I mean, I guess it does have to do with religion, but like I'm like, oh, okay, and that makes sense too, and it's just but this also goes directly into, I would say it's probably the most direct song on the record, Mr. Christian White Man, and you've been at the release show you were pretty open about like how it was a lot of
Yep.
it, it's kind of foundation you're raised on, stuff like that, and then like the song is different because it kind of lets go of that traditional verse chorus structure in a sense. Like the more that I listen to it, I almost think that like if there's some kind of like art exhibition on like say white privilege, this could be like the song playing in a room on a loop with the music video as well.
Yep.
Could you talk about putting this song together and in a way that like because also the dialogue itself is so specific. Is this one of those where like you like do some extra kind of like research to make sure you're getting things right in a sense, or like how'd that work for you? How'd you go about that?
I've never made anything any like remotely like this song, and all of my stuff has like the meaning is hidden below the surface. I feel like art is most powerful like that, and I just partway through starting to make this record, I was just like, what if I just did something absolutely crazy and just put all of the meaning literally right in front of people's faces, and did it with like just a drum beat and like weird noises and had a robot say everything that I wanted to say. Like, like it was just kind of like, what if I did that? And then I was just like, of course I'm going to do that. Let's do it. Let's freaking do it. And just as I was processing all of my thoughts and feelings, and living in Minneapolis, um, when the George Floyd murder happened, and with everything with COVID and people not giving a shit about other people and like the Donald Trump stuff, like, and just seeing how the evangelical Christian right just flocked to him. And I was just so freaking mad. And I just had so much, and just, yeah, the overall defensiveness of particularly white people, obviously, but particularly white men. Um, and it's not like it's gotten any better. It just gets worse every freaking day, Um, I'm just like, who is gonna, or yeah, what's my place? What are things that I can do? What are things that I can say to just call out the bullshit, you know? And I just really felt like, yeah, I need to be explicitly saying this is what I think, and it makes me really mad. And yeah, like with the music video that I made, I just, I don't know. It was very, I had a long period of being like nervous about it because, as I've said, like it's what I was raised in, and so like I'm still connected with so many people who kind of know me as that. Um, and yeah, to come out and be like, hey, this is all bullshit. Like we need to change some stuff, you know? Um, the way that, yeah, this religion has co-opted like all the like far right, like gun toting, like anti like anti learning about race, anti learning about anything that could possibly like where I just yeah, there's just this posture of I'm gonna shut my ears. I don't want to hear anything bad that ever happened. Like it wasn't my fault. And it's like, yeah, maybe it wasn't your fault, but like you're still benefiting from it. And I think as a society, we all need to just literally come to terms with it and just learn. Like with history, like history repeats itself. That's a thing. And like the evils of history repeat themselves when we don't choose to learn from them. And so then we have people. I mean, yeah, this could be a whole other podcast. So,
Yeah, no, it's saying it's just, and I guess one, question I do have because it was a part of your foundation and you're raised up in it. Like when you're getting ready to put this thing out into the world where anyone can hear it especially those who maybe they're so close to it, or maybe even members of your family who are so close to it. Like, I mean, is there are you one of those who's just kind of like, hey guys, here's this thing, listen to it, and then we can talk, or like, how does that work for you? Because it seems to me like I'm one of those who just like personally like I don't like conflict at all, which doesn't always work out well. But it's just like, is that are you one of those who's like, hey, here's what it is, or like how do you
I
approach it?
mean, I also don't like conflict, and me putting this out, like, honestly, I've decided to make this into what it was in an effort to force my hand and be like, I'm going to need to have these conversations. And if people listen to this, then they are going to know what I think about things. And because, yeah, there is ultimately, as a I mean, yeah, as a white person, as somebody raised up in Christianity, like, you can continue to kind of like hover like in between the worlds of like, okay, yep, I want all the Christian people to like know that I'm like with them, and maybe I don't agree with all of their beliefs, but like Christianity, like, especially in America, like, there's a lot of opportunity and wealth and money and community there, and but a lot of that is tied to like some pretty not helpful beliefs for us as a society, like anti LGBTQ plus, anti like anti yeah, learning about our nation's history, our nation's real history, not the ones that we were taught about in school, and I mean,
Yeah,
yes.
no, like
So like, but yeah, as a I could continue to live in a place where the people like the Christian world is like, oh yeah, he's one of us, while secretly also being like, I'm not, I can't with that. I can't with all the stuff that they believe. And yeah, so this record was just like, I'm not that. I don't know what I am necessarily, but I'm not that. And I just want to be somebody who learns about things and tries to make the world a better place. And I want to be a person who errs on the side of loving people and embracing them for who they are and not being judgmental, And so, yeah, I did that. And also, part of it was I'm going to make this record so that like I can be real and talk to my parents, and because like my dad's a pastor, and so like definitely some potential for
let's sit down and have a talk.
an intense conversation, and yeah, but yeah, like so I kind of was just like, yeah, I want to talk to my parents about a lot of this stuff, and I actually did that like 3 months ago. I got to be in Colorado. My parents live in Colorado. That's where I'm from. And yeah, so I sat down with them and we talked, and it was actually like a really nice conversation. And I had been dreading having that conversation for like 2 to 3 years, but we did it, and I feel like we understand each other more, and it was really nice. And I know so many people in my similar situation, maybe their parents are a little bit more conservative. Um, they're not conservative, and so like, but it's like, yeah, you don't want to like, there's potential for drama and conflict, and yeah, what are you it takes boldness, and so making this record was like, cat's out of the bag, I have no choice but to have this conversation now.
Yeah, and I also think that because I of course have I have friends who are on both sides in a sense, and like I think it really also speaks to like, you're talking about like, how the talk you had with your parents ended up being, I would say, pretty beneficial too. And I I I I do think that like sometimes what is missed is like the ability to have, conversations with those you disagree with is very important. And it won't always work out too. Like that, there are just who just like, well, but like it is important to either maybe it's seeing that perspective or seeing how they really think, or just like, I would say like, with this record, like it must have also like, you know, lifted a kind of weight off your shoulders so you can actually say what you've maybe want to say for a while
Yep.
too.
Yeah. And I feel like kind of just every family, like we over the course of time, everybody kind of realizes where everybody is on the map. And like some people in your family might be like, oh yeah, that's my aunt, what's her face? And she just kind of says what she thinks all the time, and that's just kind of who she is, you know? And like others are maybe like, yeah, they're just like not some like they're they're just like not a confrontational person, right? But like I feel like if like we can change who we are and how we're perceived, within our family, within our social structure, any of that. And yeah, it's just gonna maybe be a little uncomfortable, but I do feel now like, okay, Ben is somebody who Ben can say what he wants sometimes, and like I don't know, it feels pretty liberating. And yeah, like and honestly, like the conversation, yeah, it goes both ways. It's like, hey, this is the data that I've been given. This is the world I've grown up in. This is where things are now for me. And I know that all of that was different for you. You're from a different generation. You had different things presented to you at different points in your lives. Um, and so it's ultimately made me very curious about, yeah, what life was like for my parents when they were my age and younger. And yeah, it's been a journey of discovery for me to learn about that, and just yeah, to see how it shaped my life, and to hopefully inform how I'm gonna be as a parent for my kids.
So, on to another topic.
Yeah, yeah.
um, um, but like, I wanted to talk about the title of the album, Bitter Work, because it can, in a sense, I think it does kind of, in a sense, speak to like, you know, the amount of work that kind of does go into this kind of, I would say, soul searching you've had to do in a sense. Could you talk about the song itself? Because like there is like this almost like, especially towards the end, there's like this kind of like instrumental breakdown, and like it kind of feels like a song about like learning to grow, and then like find like a moment of clarity as well. Could you talk about the song and then also like making that the title of the record?
So the song itself is almost entirely about my parents and thinking about my parents, and yeah, like lines about looking up to my parents, and like that's kind of like the journey of the first bit there. And then as the song continues on, there is just, I mean, conflict and inner conflict and dialogue, and it eventually comes to a point of like towards the end, I'm borrowing words from a poem, like the center cannot hold, like that kind of, like that was the line that stuck with me, and so that's the line that I actually sing in it. And yeah, just sort of this idea that I can't be in the middle anymore. Like it's not sustainable for me. I need to just be real and just be like, hey, this is what I think, this is what I have thought for a long time. And this does not, in my mind, mean that I can't have a real and beautiful relationship with you. Maybe we, and and yeah, honestly, I'm super thrilled with how that song turned out. That was the hardest song for me to make, just because. I mean, yeah, I knew that it would be the ending song of the record. I didn't know that it would be the title track necessarily, but
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted to end the record with it, and so I had to just like I had to land the plane, you know. And then yeah, so then the title "Bitter Work," it stems from, the TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I know about it, but I think I've seen maybe one
Okay,
episode.
yep. So it's definitely a kids show from Nickelodeon back in the day. It's a show that anybody can watch, honestly. Like it's a great show, and there's an episode called "Bitter Work," and so that's where it comes from. And basically, in the episode, one of the characters like goes through this long night of identity crisis, like think like his not to get too far into it, but his father is the main antagonist and like the big like the big bad, I guess, if you will, who's trying to take over the world. And so it's, I mean, it's honestly similar to the Gamora stuff, you know. And yeah, as a result of going through this long painful night, like he comes out on the other side like changed and like just feeling a big load off of his shoulders. So
Yeah, I used to work at Blockbuster back when those were a thing. And that was back in 2010, I think, 2009. And so I've seen episodes, but like my coworkers love that, so it's just like we could put like movies or shows on if they're family friendly. And so that was always playing when I was in there. So I'm definitely familiar with them, but it's not like too I mean, I'm familiar with the Avatar films from James Cameron, but like
oh
I'm
yeah.
still not has I still haven't dove into that series yet. But I've been hearing really good things, so I'll probably have to at some point. Um, what what I also want to talk about your music videos because there's one and we already kind of talk about the one for Mr.
Yeah.
Christian White Man. The one I actually Predator. It's the one where it's just like you go into the woods in this white kind of suit or whatever, and how like could you kind of talk about that concept and also were you at all nervous of like uh walking in the woods alone in that kind of suit? What I'm saying is how well do you know your neighbors?
Yeah. So okay, so the Predator video, that is actually just like remixed footage from my Gamora video. So
Okay.
I'll talk more so I'll talk about the Gamora video. So basically, yeah, that video I knew that I wanted to make a music video, and like I mean I have a nice camera and I've done some stuff. I've never like shot a whole music video like that. But yeah, it was sort of like that day on it. Well, okay, I teach guitar lessons, and on Tuesdays I teach all day, and it's a lot, and it kind of drains me. And so one day I was like, I'm gonna just call in sick and make a music video. So I called in sick, and just it felt rebellious, and I think it was because of that that I was just like fired up and super motivated. And so then I went to Axeman and I didn't know what I was looking for, but I just found a bunch of stuff. So like I found goggles, I found the painter suit, like white painter suit, found like glow sticks and just a bunch of other totally random crap. And it's just like, all right, I'm just kind of formulating this all in my mind as I'm going. And then even yeah, when it came time to shoot, like I didn't know what I wanted, but as I was going along, I was just like, okay, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do this, right? I was just kind of formulating this story, this kind of just nonsense story with hopefully like somewhat interesting visuals, like ultimately this story ends up being this guy played by me, who just wakes up and does this ridiculous job of like putting on his whole suit and then going into the woods to like tape X's over targets. Like it's just like total nonsense, totally stupid. Um, but like in a lot of ways, we all do that kind of stuff, right? We're like all told by other people that this is what you have to do, and then we just do it, and we just do it day in day out. And then yeah, in the video, the person, aka me, like he keeps seeing this like sign, also just this random sign that I found that says smile, and like sort of just tries it on and it's just like, no, that's weird. And then later, like it just keeps kind of showing up. And then, yeah, I'm in the woods and see it again. And then I just say, I'm going to take my goggles off. I'm going to rip up my painter suit. I'm going to put on this like flowery shirt and go dance with some glow stick. I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah.
why can't we just like take off the expectations that everybody that the world kind of puts us on us, and like so that was for the song Gomorrah, and like the moment where things pivot is like in the line says, "If my destiny comes with the stones, I want nothing to do with it." So like if my destiny comes with the Infinity Stones, right, this desire
Mm.
to take over the entire universe and kill every like half the people, like I want nothing to do with it. So I'm taking my goggles off and I'm just ripping up, so it's like simultaneously it's stupid and doesn't make any sense, but it does also like kind of make sense, like whatever weird world I was creating, like kind of has a plot to it, and yeah, I love like visual art that is kind of like that like you kind of have to, yeah, if it's like if you commit enough to like saying this is the world that this person lives in, you just kind of go along with it, you know and ultimately I'm so proud of that music video, and it was so much fun to make, and I made it all in like 3 hours, and then even editing it, like I edited it in like 3 hours, so I just kind of just like tore through that thing.
Was it made during the
No, that
pandemic?
was made in yeah, it would have been October 2022. um
'Cause I can just, like, see someone, like, you're shooting the video, and, like, I can just see someone, like, driving down the street and seeing you in the woods and just being like, what's going on? Are you okay?"
oh yeah, I felt super I felt so dumb. Like, cause yeah, I'm like, I have my camera on the tripod. It was like just me. Like, I didn't. Yeah, it was kind of a thing where it's like, this is gonna look so insane. I'm honestly embarrassed to do this. I don't want to like, I don't want to bring somebody else with me just because it might not work out, and I don't want to like, I don't want that many witnesses to my embarrassment. So I just kind of did it myself, and then yeah, I went to this. There was a moment because I shot a lot of it in my house, and it was like, cool. I don't need to feel weird. But then it was like, all right, once I'm outside, and yeah, I drove to this nature center kind of by my house, and it's like once I'm going into those woods, I just gotta be fully committed to the part and be fully committed to looking like a crazy person, and then yeah, like I just kind of did it. And I don't know. You just gotta kind of commit to it.
Well, it must also been one of those where, like, I can, your wife was in a video that was about your daughter as well, and I like I'm wondering if, like, she just like, thank you for not including me in that one.
Honestly, at this point, she doesn't. She's just kind of like, all right, I guess that's just what Ben's kind of, you're like,
It's like, this is
yeah,
this is what I got into. This is
yeah.
what I
She's
signed up
been really
for.
supportive through all of it, and it was funny. It was really funny. She came home while I was filming that music video, and I had my white suit on, and she's just kind of like, I don't, I don't know if I even want to know, you know.
It's like, yeah, I just got done watching Breaking Bad and I like their idea. Just,
Yeah, pretty
yeah.
much.
So like, looking kind of at like the summer and everything, like, I mean, what does I mean, when it comes to gigging and stuff like that, I mean, are you are you actively looking for places where you can kind of like, you know, play like, perform the album like as you want it to be performed, or it's just kind of like, you know, whatever gig calls for it, I'll do it. Like how's that work for you?
It really kind of is just whatever I can get my hands on. And especially any time that I can get in front of like sort of a built-in crowd that I don't have to amass myself, you know, then yeah, as I was saying earlier, I'll just kind of craft whatever set I need to for it. Yeah, honestly, live music, I still don't feel like it's back to what it was before COVID, you know. I feel like we all just got so comfortable being at home, and even me, like I don't go out to shows as much as I used to. So that like yeah, that has made it hard or just harder to be booking shows and like feeling confident that the venue won't get mad at me, you know, for the draw or whatever. But like yeah, it the hope is to yeah, just play whatever stages I can get on, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, like I think I'm like I do wonder like cause I try to do about one show a week because I have to balance that out with also writing stuff and everything as well. But like I do wonder like if this is in a sense like if it'll ever fully recover, or like if it's just kind of like the normal, because like I mean there are still people doing live streams
Mhm.
too, and so it's like, well, and also it's just like, especially if you're trying to go for like the bigger shows, like, man, like I don't have a grant to spend on those lead seats. I'm sorry, like I don't, like it's almost impossible. So it's kind of like, well,
Mhm.
like what's the I'm curious to see where it goes, but like yeah, like it's definitely like um sometimes it feels like we're back, but other times it's kind of like, well, like that's how like it used to be folder. So I'm curious to see where it
Yeah,
goes
I
though.
think definitely. I think it will fully recover, just in the sense that it'll be replaced by 16 to 20-year olds, you know, like as they start to get into their 20, like I feel like for people in like my slice of the world, so like I'm 32, so people kind of around my age, like we were kind of people that went to shows and stuff, and then COVID happened, and then I mean a lot of people I know had kids during COVID, and then like you pair that with getting used to not really doing anything anymore, like people around my age, I don't think that live shows will necessarily recover for that generation like, I'd hardly call it a generation, but you know.
Well, yeah, and well, I mean, I'm 35, so I'm around there too. But it's like for me, it's just like I went to the Saturday of Art World, and then so I went to Utafest at Utipples Brewing or whatever, which was great. It was just great to be outside for live music again. But like I was like, I want to try also go to one on Sunday too. And like so I get home at like 10 p.m. or whatever, and then like I wake up the next day, I'm just like, and my body is just kind of like, yeah, you're not going. Like you just can't, like it's just so
Mhm.
like it's like you need to
Yeah.
recharge. Like it's just like, and so yeah, it is hard because like there is so much good music in this area in the
Yep.
Minnesota, and so but like it's just kind of like, yes, I want to see that band, but I want to see them too,
Yep.
and it's just like, yeah, so we start at 11 p.m. I'm just like, dude, about that, I'm not sure. I can't promise that I won't be passed
Yep.
out by then. So yeah. So like, and then we're kind of drawing to a close here, and then again, So this is a great talk. Is there anything else you wanted to add at all?
Ultimately, I mean, obviously, I'm excited about the record coming out, and I'm excited about, um, yeah, just one thing that can happen when you are a creative, like you sort of see the release date as like, all right, that's the end of this chapter, you know. But in reality, like, and I've been like, just I've realized this with past releases, like, this is the beginning of the Bitterwork chapter. You know, this is like essentially day one, you know, and it's like it's encouraging to think about it like that, and it's like, cool, let's journey far and wide, like shouting about this album, you know, and then like that kind of goes into like the other last thing that I would say is just like there's just so much noise in the world right now, right? So much noise, and even
Yeah.
yeah, I just even like so my last record came out in 2020, the one before that 2017, like this one I is just noticeably different in what it's like to try to get people to listen to it. It's just like I mean, I'm tired of seeing people post about stuff, you know, because that's all that everybody does all the time now, you know, and so I've kind of just had to like come to terms with, yeah, there's honestly just so much noise in the world right now, and maybe that's good, maybe that's not good. I don't know. It's hard enough to say, but um, yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for people like you, like taking the time to dig deep into stuff and ask hard questions. Like, just yeah, ask questions about it. Yeah.
And I'm still digging. I'm still digging too. It's so like, and that's like one of those where it's just like I definitely have records that like every time I go back to them, it's just kind of like I know something new or whatever. When do you start like in a sense working on your next project? Like how much time do you give yourself before it's like okay, it's time for the next thing?
Well, so honestly, with having like other monikers, that's nice because then I can kind of just be at different stages in the process of other ones. You know, I have another moniker called Glass Echoes, and that's with a friend of mine, and we actually have an album that's done, so that's going to come out in the fall. So that's fun, you know, and like yeah, it's kind of nice just having a couple different like I don't want to have like 20 different projects. That's just ridiculous. But like having like two or three that I like invest my time in, you know, just because then I can maybe I'm promoting this one, maybe I'm writing this one, maybe I'm mixing this other one, you know. But I mean Ben Noble, this record and this music is by far the one that I like. This is my testament to life on Earth, you know. And this is my this is the one that I care. This is the one that I will like die. This is the one I will kill myself for, you know. And so yeah, honestly, I mean, I finished this record honestly a year ago, so it has kind of given me a chance to like have a little bit more space and perspective on it. But yeah, I have been honestly already starting to write. You know, I just want to continue to because it's like yeah, like things happen in my life, and I am emotionally I'm my healthiest when I'm writing about it. You know, and processing it. So in a way, I'm always writing, and when that will turn into significant like traction on oh what's my next record, what's my next venture, um I don't know, each time I do have to kind of reinvent the wheel a little bit, and I do have to break through some writer's block, but after doing it so many times now, like I'm not worried about it. I know that it'll come about when it needs to come about, you know, as long as I show up, you know, like a lot of people just get in like yeah, we wait for inspiration to strike and then we just end up waiting, you know, but I found that inspiration strikes when I show up. So, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing concrete, you know, I've got a ton of unreleased music that could turn into an album, you know, like just a massive pile of things that have accumulated over the years. But um, I don't know. I am perfectly content to just be like, that'll happen when it happens. I'm going to continue to show up every day, and I'm excited to see where it all goes.
Can you reveal the artist you're working with for Glass Echo?
Oh
Or
yeah.
no?
So that's my friend Chris Bartels.
Okay. Oh,
We have you might have met him at the show.
yeah, I did. Yep,
Yep.
I met him. Yep.
Yeah. So he's my main. We have a lot of music together, and he's a total boss.
Awesome. Well, gotta wrap this up here. Thank you for your time, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man.
And that's it for this episode of the Melodic Noise Insider Podcast. I want to thank Ben Noble for his time and a great talk. His album, Bitter Work, is out now. I also want to thank our producer, Paul Thorson, and editor-in-chief, Andrew Perizzo. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at PlaylistTC, as well as Facebook and Instagram. Just type in Melodic Noise Media and you should find us. You can also join our Patreon and help keep this ship afloat. You can find me mainly on Instagram at AndySmileyJ. As always, remember to support your local music scene. I hope you all have a great and safe day. Till next time, guys, I'm Andy Ellis.